In the Thomas & Friends TV series, there were a good number of characters that either never made it into the show, are only briefly referenced, or may not even exist within the show's universe. Several months ago, I made a video where I drew 3 of these mystery engines, and with the recent reveal of a certain scrapped episode from the show, it seemed like a good time to make a follow-up. So, here are 3 more mystery characters from Thomas & Friends. So this first character isn't really a character at all, and I don't mean he has no personality or never got a chance to develop. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's not meant to be his own character in the first place. He has his origins in a set of promotional posters made around the time of Hero of the Rails, which matches the Art Deco style of that film's opening sequence, as well as real railway posters from the 1930s. This one here shows a Class 08 shunter like Diesel, with the text, "Fast and reliable, trust the diesel engine." Now of course, what this poster is saying is that diesel engines are something you can trust to be fast and reliable. However, people in the Thomas fandom decided to make jokes about how this is literally a diesel engine called Trust. In actuality, it's probably meant to be diesel, and his maroon colour is just a result of the poster's art style and colour palette. Or maybe it's not meant to be a specific character at all, and it's just meant to represent the generic concept of a diesel locomotive. It got me thinking though, what if Trust was his own entity? In an earlier video, I made a Railway series version of Proteus, and established that fictional engines that are fictional within the universe of the Railway series and the TV show could arguably exist. This made me think about the possibility of Trust not being an actual engine who pulls trains, but rather an advertising mascot for the North Western Railway, or Sodor Railways. The original poster, like I said, was drawn in an Art Deco style typical of the 1930s, but for 2 reasons I decided to go for a 1950s or 60s look for this illustration. For starters, I thought that Trust's minimalist looking face gave off a sort of mid-century illustration vibe anyway, despite the overall 1930s look. Secondly, the Class 08s weren't built until the 1950s, and even its precursor, the Class 11, wasn't built until 1945. I suppose you could argue that Trust is one of the even earlier diesel shunter designs from the 30s, but back then diesel locomotives were pretty niche, and not really the symbol of progress that Britain's railways were trying to push them as during the second half of the 1950s and onwards. I had a look at various mid-century print adverts to get an idea of the general look. Mid-century advertising is generally defined by quirky asymmetrical fonts, sharp angles, simple designs, and often a limited colour palette. British Railways adopted this style for some of their posters during this time, although my drawing matches the slightly more minimalist look of advertising from other companies. Basically, my idea is that Trust is a character that just sort of pops up in NWR advertising material during the 50s and 60s to try and persuade potential customers into taking train journeys and doing other things that the railway can profit from. His appearance as a diesel engine signifies progress, even if the majority of the NWR's engine fleet at the time was steam engines. Plus, it means that he's a simpler shape and easier to draw, making things easier for the railway's graphic design department. I like to think that Trust maybe appeared in his own set of animated adverts that played on TV and in the cinemas of Sodor. Maybe one day, if I can find the time, I can make that a reality. His name comes from the mutual trust between the NWR and its customer base. The railway trusts the passengers to use their services, and the passengers trust the railway to ensure the services in question are of the highest standard. And so, here is the completed drawing. So here's something I haven't really done in the series before, a road vehicle. Nigel was a character drawn up during development of Season 6 with the intention of being a member of the Sodor construction crew, aka the Pack. He was never written into any scripts, and so his model was never built. It's been a while since I watched the Jack and the Pack episodes. I seem to remember being very impressed by the model work, and it was interesting at the time of its release seeing previously undiscovered content that's technically from the classic era of Thomas, albeit with the then contemporary music and narration style. I dare say that once again there isn't a huge amount to talk about with this drawing, although we could theorise about Nigel's personality. I like to think that he's the sort of character who's been around the block more than once, so to speak, and doesn't really get fazed by much. His concept art makes him look very polite, so perhaps that could be another element of his personality, which contrasts sharply with characters like Max, Monty and Patrick. Their boastful and aggressive attitudes don't really do much to anger Nigel. His motto is, "Kill 'em with kindness," which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. Originally, I was going to draw Caroline on Nigel's trailer, but I wanted to relate the drawing back to the Pack, and so I decided to draw Max after having a nasty accident, most likely karma for bullying the other Pack members alongside his brother Monty. It was interesting drawing a road vehicle or two for a change. At some point I will get around to making a video, or possibly multiple videos, in which I draw the various road vehicle characters created for the TV series and reimagine them in the Railway series style. I dare say I could probably make 2 or 3 videos based on the Pack alone. And so, with all that said, here is the finished image. So here's an engine that we only learned about fairly recently. James and Super ED was the working title of an episode from Season 5 that was scrapped early on in development. The general plot is that James has an accident at the coaling plant. An electro-diesel engine called ED, or Ed, is brought in to do his work. He is a sickly engine that is prone to breaking down, but after getting struck by lightning, his performance suddenly improves dramatically. Unfortunately, this also makes ED very arrogant and full of himself, which the other engines don't like at all, and blame James for having that accident that resulted in all of this. Unfortunately for ED, his high performance streak doesn't last long, as he gets struck by lightning again shortly afterwards, returning to his original meek self. The episode was scrapped by Britt Allcroft, as even in a season with sentient boulders it wasn't considered realistic enough, so Super ED remained nothing more than a mere concept. ED is thought to stand for electro-diesel, and so this somewhat narrows down what type of engine he might be. In the end, I went with the British Railways Class 73. It was a toss-up between painting him green or blue, but I figured that since Derek is already in BR Green, and since there were never any BR Blue diesel engines in the TV series, I figured that ED should be blue. You can only have so many green diesels, I think. Plus I think it would be better for if they wanted to make merchandise of Super ED. Parents might hesitate to buy yet another green diesel engine for their kids, but a blue one is something different. I've drawn Super ED at the repair yards, or carriage sheds, just outside Tidmouth Sheds. James has been kicked out by the other engines after they discover that his accident caused Super ED to arrive on the railway and break Gordon's speed record. James has to sleep with Super ED, who is boasting about how mean, lean and clean he is, like a George Foreman grill. As well as his livery, one other noteworthy thing about Super ED's appearance in this illustration is his face. It's been pointed out in the past that all of the characters introduced in Season 5 have very similar looking faces, with the exception of Bertram, who reuses Smudge's face. I've decided to give Super ED a face with features akin to the other Season 5 characters, with a large round nose and cheeks with a fairly pronounced chin. And, with that said and done, here is the completed illustration. And there you have it. 3 more mystery engines from the TV series given a bit of reimagining. It's been fun to draw some slightly different subjects from the art I normally make for these videos, and perhaps I can keep experimenting with styles and subjects in future videos. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you all next time.